cap on. All right, no, no.
Hey, welcome to the Black Spinner Circle vidcast with my co-host Andy Rodriguez. How are you, brother?
Hey man, I'm doing all right. Just hanging out and listening to music and having a good time. So that's what
Shoot,
life's all about, is having a good time.
shooting a shit about baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, and in fact,
Oh man, and we got a great guest on tonight. Our usual awesome guest, Jimmy James Schwartz. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
With his awesome Irish hat.
Got my got my got my Boston Skelly kid.
Yeah, man, awesome, bro. Even though I'm not Irish, my wife is part Irish, so she's like,
Yep.
"Put my shirt on behind there." It's like, and this is my only green shirt, so
you know,
I figured it was appropriate. Anyway, it's 2 days after St. Patrick's Day. I'm sure there's still plenty of people hungover still. they
things
probably
like this.
they probably kept the drinking going, whatever. But it's all good. We were supposed to do the show last night, but I ended up going to see George Lynch last night. He was supposed to play actually Sunday here in Florida, and due to the weather, it got pushed out till Tuesday. So it actually worked out a little better for me actually being last night because the venue that he plays at, Sarasota, is closer to my office. So I just kind of after work, I just kind of changed clothes at the office and just kind of went straight to the venue. It was only like 20 minutes from my office. So
Oh, wow.
whereas from my house, it's like a little over, it's like about an hour. So for me to go all the way home and then come back was just senseless. And my wife wasn't going to go to it anyway, so there's no real use to me for me to go home. But anyway, George Lynch was awesome last night. I ended up getting his set list like I always do.
Nice.
It was signed by Jaron Galino. Jaron Galino is the bass player of Lynch Mob, but this was a solo George Lynch show. I mean, he did all Dockin', as you can see there, with a Lynch Mob song at the end. So that was awesome to see. I went to a similar show about a year and a half ago when I first moved to Florida. It was actually George Lynch was the first show I saw down here when I moved down here, and it was the same thing. He had Terry Ilios from XYZ singing for him, and as a matter of fact, he did a set before George of like XYZ. It wasn't the band XYZ, but he had Jaron on bass with him too, so he did double duty on bass for both Terry and George, and he had his killer guitar player, man. 22 years old, real young guy, man. But he was ripping it up, and so it was really cool. So it was like, and then there was a couple of bands before them because I got there early, and two of them really were kind of like cover bands anyway, kind of get the crowd warmed up. But they were good though, and the guy that was playing guitar for Terry for the XYZ material was in one of the cover bands before that. So, he was playing like Van Halen and, Guns N' Roses, all sorts of stuff and just nailing the stuff. And also it's signed by Brett Carlisle, who's the singer of Great White.
Yeah.
Young kid. And he
He's
was singing
good.
most of they were trading off. So as you can see on here, Brett sang some songs then. Tyler was a singer of another band I was on before. Then Terry, so they all kind of traded off vocals, and there was a couple of female singers too. One was called Red because she wore red. One was called Twinkle, and the other one was Cassandra. Anyway, but anyway, it was a great show. I mean, George sounded great. I tried meeting him, man, but he kind of after the show, he kind of hightailed it out of there. So, but it was really cool, man. But meeting George is on a bucket list of mine. I'm gonna get him one day.
He
But,
seems like he could, depending on the day, like he could be really cool
he could
or
be a moody.
pretty
I think he could be a
uncool.
moody guy, man. So
Yeah.
I think last night, I think he stuck around a while, but it was kind of normally that venue is a little easier to meet like the artists because it's really open, like in the back behind the stage. But I don't want to be like a stalker guy either. Like I don't want to so I just kind of like hang out and see what the vibe is. I wasn't hearing from a lot of other people that they were like meeting him either. So I think he was being a little, not. I don't want to say difficult, but maybe he just wasn't in the mood. That's all.
Yeah.
But I did meet him once before, like 12 years ago. And he was cool, dude. But I didn't get a picture with him. That night, he was cool, like talking, like me and like three other guys. He signed my George Lynch CD, and then one of the guys asked for a picture, and he was like, not tonight. He wasn't in the mood to take a picture, so I never got that picture with him. But anyway, I did meet him, and he was cool. So
yeah,
it was
gotta get that picture though.
Yeah, but listen, I've met a lot of people, and I never got pictures with them either. So, but the memory is there, which is cool. So
absolutely.
So yeah, that was my night last night. How was your guys' St. Patrick's Day? You guys do anything?
No, I worked.
Yeah, it's on a Monday too, so I'm not that hardcore. I didn't even go out or anything like that. So
yeah, ours
I know
was
my wife,
pretty low key.
Yeah, my wife and I, we went out, and my daughter, we went out to eat the night before. It's like Sunday night. We went out.
Have you guys ever had green beer? It's disgusting.
No, I never had it.
Oh, it's gross because they put that dye to make it green.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It's it was bad.
Yeah. Shout out to Michael Lynch. What's up, Michael? He's on the chat.
Love Michael Lynch.
Yeah, Michael Lynch is a cool dude, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by. And I think he lives in Australia, right? Isn't he in Australia? Right.
He's a guy
right,
who,
Michael?
If the timing ever worked out, he would be amazing to get on the show just to hear, because he does actual like production and engineering stuff.
I'd love to invite him on, man. Michael, the invite's there, bro. If you ever want to come on, get in touch.
I mean, it's your show. I don't want to invite people to your show randomly.
No, dude,
Michael's such a cool dude. I would love.
I love the guy, man. I love the guy,
to chat with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great to have more people on.
So, Michael, man, the invitation's there, bro.
So let us know, Mike.
So we do our What's Spinning segment. Jimmy James, man, what do you got, brother? Anything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Andy and I were talking about how sometimes you buy so many records and music, it's hard to keep up, and that's kind of where I've been the last few trips to the record store. I picked up some great things that I've been looking for. First one is the Hey Jude record.
Oh, cool.
And man, I used to get this from the library as a kid, and I always loved Old Brown Shoe and Ballad of John and Yoko, even though it's a little I don't know what you'd call it, but the version of Revolution and Paperback Writer, just love it. Got the first Ambrosia record, and I've been playing this quite a bit. Oh my gosh, what a great band.
Yeah. I didn't get more. That's the only one I had by them.
And well, they've only got, I think, 5 records, and this is kind of more on the progressive end, and they kind of got more into the, I guess, what you'd call yacht rock stuff. But it's all good. It's all really good music. It's played extremely well, catchy, hooky. And speaking of my friend in Australia, picked up some Little River Band.
They're playing here in Florida in like another week or two. Yeah.
Are they?
I've never seen them before. I was thinking about going.
I love these guys. It's talk about great hooks, great melodies, great harmonies. I mean, these guys are, you don't get much better than that.
Oh, wow.
This side of Lennon and McCartney. So that's what's been spinning.
Cool, man. Andy, what do you got, dude?
Well, like I was telling Jimmy, this is the second record convention I went to the past 2 months. So I am backlogged at what I have to listen to. I got probably close to a little over 40 albums that I need to get to. But I'm only going to talk about a couple of them that I've listened to and one that's associated with tonight's show. And I'll start off with that one. And I didn't know that he was even on here until I started to read the liner notes. But Greg Lake.
Oh, yeah.
Really good. And Gary Moore's lead guitar on here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And man, for people that are seeing this and expect the Emerson, Lake and Palmer album, no. It has got nothing to do with Emerson, Lake and Palmer. It's got to do with early 80s hard rock sound.
That's an underrated album, actually, man.
Yes, dude. It's really good. Like I said, I just got it Saturday, so I haven't really spun it, but I streamed it on the way to work this morning just so I can get a hear for it. I was so totally surprised. Even though I read about it before, you can never really tell about reading until you actually hear it. And this was a very interesting album. A couple of one track, because I've only heard this one time. One track I really did like that stood out was on side two called "Someone." I thought that was really cool.
Mhm.
That was really
Greg had a great voice too. I love
yeah,
his voice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And with rock music, it was really good. And I found this one. I took advice because it reminds me. Al said that sometimes he might pick up an album because it sounds cool or the album cover looks cool. So I said, wow, Widowmaker. I thought maybe D. Snyder, but it's not D. Snyder. There was another Widowmaker
Bob
in
Daisley.
1977.
I think Bob Daisley was that. That was his
Bob
band.
Daisley was on bass, and it's from Jet Records. It's called
Nice.
Widowmaker. Too Late to Cry.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
So that was a '70s band with Bob Daisley, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a couple of other guys. It was kind of a low key kind of super group as well. But I don't know where the other guys came from. I don't remember the bands that they came from. But when I was looking at this, I noticed it was from Jet Records and it was from '77, so it had to be an early release by Jet Records.
Hmm.
You know, and Bob Daisley's on bass.
Yeah.
And not just that, he wrote like 7 out of the 9 tracks on here as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I haven't spun it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And then this one, I found it. It was $2, and this one I did spin already, and it was so good. Ray Manzarek.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
This one's called. The whole thing started with rock and roll. Now it's out of control. And dude, he plays the hell out of these keyboards. And
Nice.
yeah.
Pat,
Ray had a few solo albums
yeah, and Patti Smith reads a poem on here that's written by
by Jim.
Jim, yeah, by Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
Also, Joe Walsh guest as a guitar player on here as well.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, so if y'all can ever check it out, man, it's really good. It's a really good, solid album. I know that we always talk about the Doors without Jim, that it's this, it's that, but man, this was a very surprisingly very good album.
He's had some good solo albums. There's another one called The Golden Scarab. It's really good too.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's had a couple. Ray had a couple of good ones, man.
Yeah, I'm very surprised with that one. I spun it a couple of times. It was so good that I wanted to really get into it, and I'll probably get more into it. And I'll go through the other albums as I go through them. I just wanted to spotlight on these 3.
Yeah.
Because if I talk about
Awesome.
all of them, we'll lose the meaning of everything I found. So.
So speaking of Jet Records and Bob Daisley, today's the anniversary of Randy Rhoads' death.
Yeah.
So here's the live Mr. Crowley EP, which is a picture disc. And I remember picking this up like at a record store, maybe for like $5. And it's got Mr. Crowley, You Said It All, which was a non-album track, and the live Suicide Solution. Which I think is,
that's not the picture disc.
what's that?
I've got that on vinyl too, but it's not the picture disc.
Yeah. I saw the picture disc one time when I was out. And this is all.
The cover is the back cover of mine. That's the front cover.
Okay. All right. So I mean, Randy was one of my influences. I always call him one of my holy trinity. So I had to listen to a little Randy today, obviously, in tribute to him. In tribute to St. Patrick's Day, I got to spin a little Thin Lizzy.
Oh,
I got this at one of the record store day. This was one of the record. I think this was in Live and Dangerous box set, but they've released one of the shows separately for record store day. Live Lizzy is always awesome, and and since I went to go see George Lynch last night, a little Tooth and Nail as well.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's a classic, dude. You know what I mean? So, and he was just ripping out. George was fantastic last night. as he always is. Usually, like anytime I've ever seen him, I mean, the first time I ever saw Dokken was in 1988 on a Monster Rock tour. So they were like, at that point, they were coming apart at the seams. they're on the verge of like the end, and I think you could kind of tell the tension on stage. I mean, I know when I saw him, I think Don and George kind of stayed far away from each other on stage. So
And they had to go on right after Metallica too, didn't they?
yeah,
Which
they had to
probably
go
didn't
on
help
after
them out
Metallica.
either.
That was pretty rough actually, because
Yeah.
Metallica just came out there all guns blazing,
Yeah.
like they had something to prove, and
Yep.
Dokken was, Dokken still came out and they were great, but I mean, the energy that Metallica put out was just kind of like, dude, if you're gonna come out, you better fucking come out like twice the intensity, man.
Yeah. Well, that's right as they were ascending, like Justice
yeah,
hadn't
man.
come out yet.
Metallica
But
was
you could
so,
feel it.
you could tell they were so hungry, man.
Yeah.
And after the death of Cliff Burton, I think they felt like they even had more to prove in a way, like that they could continue on. I mean, they were just like incredible, man.
Yeah. Who was the best band on that bill?
It was Metallica, dude.
Really? Okay.
To me, I mean, and I'm a huge Van Halen fan, and
Yeah.
I mean, I love the Scorpions too. They were all great, but I mean, Metallica just wiped the floor with everybody, man.
Oh, well, because they sounded different from like everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, it was thrash. It was thrash, and that was like at the thrash is probably at the peak at that point too. In 1988. I mean, you already had your established. Big Four they were established already. They were like, they were all like, guns blazing. And then you had the other thrash bands too. I mean, thrash is big, man. By that point. And a lot of the crowd was there for Metallica, man. You could tell.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, in the stadium too. I mean, when they came on, they were only the second band on because Kingdom Come was on. But I mean, I tell you, when Metallica came on, and they came on during the day when it's still daylight out. I mean, pretty much the stadium was packed already. So people came early to see them. So Kingdom Come was the first band. I remember them. I remember them getting booed a lot. But you know what? But admittedly, though, I remember my older brother, he got that first Kingdom Come album, and I liked it, man. I thought it was good.
I used to have that on cassette.
I got that on vinyl.
Yeah, cassette. My brother had the cassette as well, and we played it all the time. I mean, I love the song "Get It On." I know it's Total Zeppelin, but I mean, it was a catchy rocking song, man. So
yeah,
my brother and I, we went early so we could catch Kingdom Come too. We saw them. We enjoyed their set too, man. I think they only played like maybe 35 minutes, 40 minutes, if that.
Right.
They pretty much played like they only had the first album out. That was it. So they probably played like half hour. Anyway, so that was what I was spinning, and just a couple. And of course, we're gonna be talking about Gary Moore. I got the one of them that we're talking about here.
Nice.
So back on the streets, and that's what this is about. It's a triple vinyl battle, track by track, right, Andy?
Yes, it is. It is. I am ready to go.
Yeah, we got 1978's Back on the Streets. Now, there's certain versions that only have like 8 tracks. Yeah. So, going by Wiki, the 9-track album is Back on the Streets. It's a Grand Slam Records, I think, or called a Grand Slam release or something. So that's got 9 tracks on it. So I wanted all the tracks to kind of match up. 1982 Corridors of Power, and then 1984's Victims of the Future, and we're going by the U.S. release on that one. I think, Jimmy, you're good with everything like that?
Good? I think I've got all the track listings straight.
Okay, cool.
I've made notes, so if I screw it up, just let me know, and I'll change it on the fly.
Okay, and then on 1978, the Back on the Streets album, we got Phil Lynott. He plays the bass. It's almost like a Lizzie album on this one because Phil and Brian Downey both play on this album.
Oh, wow.
So it's almost like a Lizzie trio there. And also Simon Phillips plays drums on some tracks as well.
Yeah,
killer drummer, and Don Aries on keyboards. Speaking of Ozzy and Randy Rhoads, Don Aries on keyboards there. So 1982's Quarters of Power, we got Neil Murray on bass, Tommy Ayer on keyboards, and Ian Pace on drums, who would
Again,
also
there's
play
that.
with Gary Moore as well. And then 1984's Victims of the Future, we got Neil Carter on keyboards, Neil Murray on bass, Mo Foster and Bob Daisley on. I'm sorry, yeah, Neil Murray, Mo Foster, and Bob Daisley all on bass on certain tracks. Ian Pace and Bobby Chivard on drums. So those are the lineups of the 3 albums. I know. It's funny, man. Gary Moore, like when you look on the credits of his albums, it's almost like him, Whitesnake, Black Sabbath,
Purple.
Rainbow, Deep Purple. Everybody interchanged members. It was all
Yeah.
like this big family tree that, oh, let me borrow you for an album. Let me borrow you. You know what I mean? It was all, and I thought that was always kind of cool, actually, that, there was like this camaraderie with all these bands that, like, they helped each other out on their albums and stuff like that. So I always thought that was pretty cool. So
Yeah, it's that English hard rock tree.
yeah. And what a great bunch of musicians, man. You couldn't ask for, like, I mean, God, Ian Pace, Brian Downey, Simon Phillips. I mean, those powerhouse drummers right there, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to start with track 1, Back on the Streets, title track, from Quarters of Power, Don't Take Me for a Loser, and from Victims of the Future, the title track as well. We'll start with you, Jimmy, and work our way around.
Man, this was really tough.
All three albums are great, dude.
So good. I think there's maybe
revisiting these albums. I was like, because I hadn't learned in a long time. It just made me think of, like, Gary Moore should have been so much bigger, man.
Oh gosh,
here in America. So.
Yeah, and I actually have chills, and right now just talking about how good,
God, yeah,
how good it is. And I think the thing that makes Back on the Streets so unique, it's so different than the other 2 records.
Yeah, it is.
It's half jazz fusion.
Yep.
You have a song that's borderline punk rock.
Yeah.
You've got some just all out rockers. You've got some moody stuff. You got some flamenco guitar, and within it's all Gary Moore. It all sounds like Gary. He's covering this wide gamut of music, but man, it all sounds like him, and he's so good. He is just he's a freak of nature, and there's something about Irish guitar players, I swear, that they just play with a fire in their belly. Whether you're talking about Vivian Campbell, Gary Moore, Bernie Torme, Brian Robertson, like all of those guys just play with fire, and it just comes through. And I think Gary more than anybody. So this is such a tough list. I think within the three albums, there's one song that is just kind of okay for me.
But
I
that's
love
not bad.
else.
That's not bad for like 3 hours worth of material.
Right. And even that song, Gary's guitar playing saves that song.
Yeah.
So it's like, but anyway, I'll jump off my soapbox and kind of go.
Oh
through
no,
it.
man!
I think.
Oh, Michael Lynch, real quick. He said he puts Rory Gallagher up there too.
Yes, Rory. I was going to say Rory. Yes, yeah, absolutely, 100%. So all of these songs, "Back on the Streets" is a great rocker. Kind of almost even got a little prog at the beginning. "Don't Take Me for a Loser" that should have been a giant AOR hit. It really should have. But for me, my track is going to be "Victims of the Future." The way it starts with kind of that mellow, and it kicks in, and the little guitar screeches he does kind of in between. You know what I'm talking about? Like in between vocal lines, the wow, wow.
Yeah.
So great. So much emotion. It could have been any one of those songs, but for me, that's "Victims of the Future" is a top 3 song for me. So it's got to be that.
All right, cool. "Victims of the Future." That's Jimmy's pick. Andy.
I'm new to the Gary Moore music trend. Like very new, like maybe just a couple of months. I started to dig into him when we had that show of lead guitarist albums, and one of Jimmy's picks was "Back on the Streets," and I started to hear it. And I really liked it because I've been getting to jazz rock fusion, and there were a couple of tracks on there. I'll talk about those later on. And then when Al hit me with this, he added Corridors of Power and Victims of Future, and I'm going to agree with what y'all said. He should be a lot bigger as one of the guitar heroes that we talked about, because his guitar tone is so good. He might have even been one of the first ones to have hard rock ballads, and you could tell by these records from the early '80s. It's like hard rock ballads weren't really embraced until the mid '80s. Gary Moore was already doing that 2 or 3 years ahead, maybe even an offshoot of the Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, because Thin Lizzy really kind of had that too.
yeah, exactly. But then we talk a lot about, oh well, Home Sweet Home being the first hard rock ballad. But then if you look back, other bands like Gary Moore had beaten them to the punch years before. With that being said, I am going to agree with Jimmy. I'm going to go with the title track of "Victims of the Future." I thought that was such a great rocker, and he just jams on that. And I never went back to see if the other two were going to be, because that was just a perfect song to start off this album. I was very surprised. I thought that I was going to lean more on Back on the Streets, but I don't. I lean more towards the newer albums that I heard from him. So I'm going to start off with Victims of Change.
Future, okay.
Future of Change.
Victims of the Future.
Future.
Not victim of changes.
I do the same thing, Andy. I do the same thing.
I didn't get. We should have went around the horn, but we'll do it now. Like before I get to my pick, how I got into Gary Moore. Actually, I was late on Gary Moore. Like I was. It wasn't until like the Ready for Love video on MTV when I saw it, and that's from that's from the After the War album, which came out in '89, I believe. I believe it was 1989, and I remember seeing that video, and it was, it was Gary being a little hair metal-y, let's say. It was a catchy song. It was real, but it was catchy. But the guitar playing it, like, it was killer, man. I mean, he did a fucking solo in that like floored me, and I never really knew. I think I had seen his name in guitar magazines and like rock magazines here and there, but I never really thought about him. Back then it wasn't the internet. Everything it was either you heard it on the radio, saw it on MTV, or read it in a magazine, or word of mouth. And when I was in high school, I mean, not a lot of people talked about Gary Moore. It was unfortunate. Like I said, he wasn't big in America. But I remember seeing the Ready for Love video, and I really liked it. And I remember I went to Sam Goody. And for you kids out there, Sam Goody was a record store back in the day. It was in a New Jersey mall, and I went to it, and I bought the After the War CD on CD, and I still have the original CD and everything. And that's really the first Gary Moore album I had. So it was a bit late into his career, but better late than never. And from then on, man, I was like, I love that album. And he did a song in there with Ozzy called Lead Clones, kind of poking fun at all the bands that were kind of like ripping off Zeppelin, AKA, Kingdom Come, because they were definitely going after them, the riff in that song. But anyway, back to this. So yeah, that's the first album I got by Gary. So, and then I didn't know he was with Thin Lizzy until even later on than that. And the Black Rose album is actually ended up being my favorite Thin Lizzy album, and Gary Moore is on that one. So, I love Gary, man. And we were supposed to have this show yesterday, and Butch Jones, who's the biggest Gary Moore, Thin Lizzy, he was, he was on the fence. He didn't know for sure if he was going to be on or not. When I had mentioned it to him that I was moving the show to tonight, he was like, "Oh, I can't. Then I can't make it because he has his mom is going into surgery, so he has very early in the morning tomorrow. So I guess he can't be up late tonight, which is very understandable, So Butch, I wish you're on the show, but of course your mom comes first, brother.
Absolutely.
And but we had him on the Thin Lizzy show last year, and he was great, man. I mean, if you're gonna have somebody on for Thin Lizzy or Gary Moore, you got to ask him, man. He's
an encyclopedia when it comes to
oh yeah.
Gary Moore and Thin Lizzy.
I really credit Butch for really kind of reigniting my because I was listening to Lizzy for a while and then I kind of fell off on him. But when I joined up his group and he always talked up about Gary Moore and Thin Lizzy and stuff like that, I started listening to them again, and it reignited my passion for them. And I mean, I'm even more passionate about Thin Lizzy now than I ever was, man. Wow. I mean, Phil Lynott is moved up into my top 5 favorite lyricists of all time. I mean, his lyrics are just incredible.
Yeah,
but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Gary Moore. So my pick, I'm going to make it a clean sweep. I'm going to be Victims of the Future.
Nice.
Jimmy, you were talking about the beginning of that. You know what's funny, man? When I was listening to the beginning of that again, it reminded me of, remember the Superstar group, the song Stars that Dio did?
Yeah.
It almost fucking reminded me of that.
Oh, wow.
I'm thinking maybe Dio ripped it off of because when you really kind of think about it, there's that mellow opening in Stars, then it kind of just goes silent for like a second or two, and then boom, it comes in.
That's a good call.
So it's kind of like Victim of the Future is like the same type of vibe, so I immediately thought of Stars. I know Stars came out after this, so this is really kind of so. Yeah, I was like kind of thinking about that, and it's funny, man. Dio should have had Gary Moore on that song on Stars. He would have been great on there, man.
Heck yeah.
But Victims of the Future, that's my pick. So we're gonna go to track 2. Now, track 2 is gonna be "Song for Donna." Is that what you got, Jimmy?
Yep.
Okay. All right. "Song for Donna," "Always Gonna Love You," and "Teenage Idol." Go ahead, Jimmy.
All right. So to kind of piggyback on your how you found Gary Moore.
Yes, exactly. Talk about how you discovered him.
Absolutely. It's kind of funny because I don't know if you remember Guitar for the Practicing Musician. You used to get all these shrapnel ads.
I subscribed to it, man.
Yeah. It was. I would just study that thing constantly. Yeah. And you remember the shrapnel ads for all the shredder guitar players?
Oh yeah.
So going through there, I would study those because I really wanted to hear all of these guys, all these hot shots. And Vinnie Moore was one of the ones that was in there. And one day, my mom had me at the record store, took me to the record store, and I found Gary Moore, and I bought it thinking that it was Vinnie Moore. But it took me probably a year or two to realize that I had bought the wrong.
Wait a minute.
But I bought Victims of the Future, and hearing Shapes of Things and the title track,
that's a good mistake to make, though.
Yeah. And now I'm pretty glad that that was the one because I'm far more into Gary than I am Vinny. No disrespect to Vinny, but so these 3 tracks, anytime you got Phil Lynott singing a song, it's going to tug on my heartstrings, especially when Gary's playing, because when his vocals come in, it just is such a beautiful song, and it goes through so many changes, and it's so musical, it's so intricate and beautiful. That's not the one I'm picking. And that's really hard for me because immediately when I hear Phil's voice, that's the song I want to pick. Now, I mentioned earlier there was one song that I'm not a huge fan of, Teenage Idol. A little bit hokey. Gary's incredible on it. So his solo there is phenomenal. So it really does kind of save it. But I ended up picking Always Gonna Love You. If this was a Journey song,
it would have been a huge hit.
It would have been huge. It would have been huge. The melody is so good. And one thing I don't want to undermine is, sorry, just a second. Alexa, stop. I had a alarm set for my son.
See, folks, this is live.
That's right. It is live. Gary's voice is so good. And people don't talk about that enough. And especially on some of these slower songs or kind of the more ballady ones. He's got so much emotion and so much range there. And for as great as his guitar playing is, his voice is right up there too. And I think this song I think this should still being played on the radio because
Yeah.
it's that good of a song. The hook, the melody, the message. It's phenomenal.
All right, man. So we got one for Always Gonna Love You, Andy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one of our viewers, Raymond, asked, "Have we ever heard of Jack Moore's music, Gary's son?"
I know one of his songs got. Didn't he do a cover of a Gary Moore song or?
I've never heard one, but
Or I know in Butch's. I think in Butch's group, I think somebody posted a song of Jack Moore's, and I heard it and I just not to put him down, but I just kind of found it a little bit kind of mediocre. It didn't really grab me. Now that's just one song, so I don't want to base an artist off of one song. You know what I mean? So I mean, if I'd have to really like listen to him and really see what he's all about. But yeah, Jack Moore is Gary Moore's son. He's doing music. So yeah, Raymond,
I'll check him out.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just looked him up on YouTube. There's an interview with him and Bob Daisley.
Oh, okay.
From, 2024. So y'all want to go check that out. Interesting. Cool. I talked a little bit already. What got me into Gary Moore? It's a 2-month-old story.
Yeah.
But I am going to go with what Jimmy calls the hokey song. I'm going to go with Teenage Idol.
Oh, okay.
I like the guitar playing, but I also like the hokey style. Your words, Jimmy. I like.
You're making me feel bad now, Andy.
It's like a 50s kind of rave up kind of track. You know what I mean with the way the lyrics are and the story that it tells, and I found it entertaining. So I'm going to go with Teenage Idol.
All right,
that's awesome.
All right, man. I'm gonna yeah, Jimmy, you were right, man. The song for Donna, like hearing Phil and Gary together, it's always great. I mean, they almost seemed like they were tailor made for each other. And for me, it's almost a shame like they only did one Thin Lizzy album together.
Yeah,
kind of would have liked to heard a little more by them, maybe one or two more albums, maybe instead of Snowy White. And I love the Snowy White albums; they're great albums too. But it would have been kind of cool if Gary could extend it out maybe another album or two, before leaving Thin Lizzy. But
could you imagine Renegade with Gary on there?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, and I love that album, dude.
Yeah, I do too.
And what's the other one? Chinatown, right? Would be the other one, But dude, and they're both. I mean, God, man, they're both great albums. But with Gary, would have been like, well, probably would have elevated it so much more. You know what I mean? So, that being said, I'm gonna pick what you pick, man. Always Gonna Love You, man. I love, Gary can sing the hell out of a fucking ballad too, man. He has so much emotion in his voice, like you were saying. And dude, like, listen, man, like, there's like, I don't know, man, like, I know, like, with Still Got the Blues, man, he went completely like blues for a long time, but damn, he was doing like some of that shit like way back,
oh yeah,
a song or two or three like on albums like that could easily fit onto Still Got the Blues or anything like he did in the 90s, man. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like Still Got the Blues. All of a sudden he shifted gears 180 and went blues. I mean, he was doing that, right. Albums prior to that, it wasn't a whole complete album of that, and I like his bluesy period too. I mean, I think Still Got the Blues is a great album as well, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are great albums.
The one big regret I have is never getting to see him live, man. I wish I would have seen him, and unfortunately, he's gone, but that's what the music is here for. So, but I would have loved to have seen him live. I'm very fortunate I got to see the Thin Lizzy version with Sykes fronting it, and that's the only time I've ever seen John Sykes. So I'm really fortunate to say that I saw him once at least. And that version of Thin Lizzy, I thought with him singing was awesome, dude. Him and Gorm as the guitar tandem, was fucking phenomenal. I know Phil wasn't there, but I mean, John paid tribute to him like really well. I mean, he even like, called out Phil during the concert. He would say, these songs by Phil need to be heard. I loved him and all that stuff. So we're just paying tribute to him. So,
Ugh.
but back to Gary. Yeah, Teenage Idol. Yeah, it's a cool song, but I can't take it over. Always gonna love you. So I love it when Gary sings a ballad, man.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be
So
my
good.
pick. Which brings us to track 3. What would you rather be or a wasp? Wishing Well, which is a free cover, and Devil in Her Heart. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Nice. Here we get you get some of that fusion stuff again.
Yeah,
Um, and what a great title for a song. What would you rather be or a wasp? It's
I know.
it's a
That is
great
really
title.
cool and clever.
And it really it kind of it, it it really hits some of those Jeff Beck fusiony. It's almost like Gary's nod to some of that, and
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
like it could have
But
been.
I ended up
It almost could have been on Blow by Blow or something like that.
absolutely,
Oh,
You
yeah.
know.
absolutely, I 100%.
Yeah,
I ended up going with the free cover, Wishing Well,
great, great,
as my
great cover,
choice.
man.
Gosh,
Just
Gary did great covers.
he did.
He did really good covers, and the Ian Pace and Neil Murray really just create a pocket in that song, and it gives Gary the room
Yeah,
to just go nuts.
yeah,
And
absolutely, man.
yeah, I can't,
Neil Murray,
I
man,
gotta pick
underrated
it.
bass player, man.
Yeah,
Very underrated. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was so
yeah,
good in White Snake there in that.
White Snake. Yeah, man, he was great, man.
Yeah.
He was in Sabbath too.
yeah.
So another band they interchanged players with.
It's like the roulette. You got the
So your pick is Wishing Well. Okay.
yeah.
All right, man. Andy.
Yeah, on this one, I had picked Wishing Well right off the bat. Loved that song, but then Al sent over the configurations of these tracks go here, these tracks go here, this version. So that led me to scratch that off and put what would you rather be or wasp is what I went to off the first album. We know why. I'm just so much into that sound right now. When I went record shopping, this Saturday, I picked up several Weather Reports, some Bob
Yeah.
James,
Ooh, Weather Report.
and
Awesome stuff.
yeah. Which one was a double live album too, called 830 that came out in '79, and I'm really enjoying that. So I guess when you get older, I was thinking about this on the way to work. You would think I drive forever with the stuff I think about going to work, but it seems like rockers as they get older, they're still rockers. They still love their heavy metal, but they either as a secondary genre, it's like they either go the orchestra way or the jazz way. Y'all feel that as well?
Yeah, because I remember, I've told the story where I started working with my older brother, and he was a total like hard rock guy, like when I was growing up with him, and then he got married and he's out of the house for a few years, and then I ended up getting a job with him, and I walk into the office, man, he's listening to jazz, dude, and I'm like, wow, and listening to that stuff, man, he got me into it. I love jazz, man,
It's
so.
got to be certain jazz for me. It really
Yeah,
has to be from
there's the cheesy kind of like the more contemporary kind
yeah,
of
that stuff. I'm like, nah, but dude, that late '60s and throughout the '70s, that's some way far out shit, man. It really is. It
Well,
was
they were really experimenting, I mean,
yeah,
some of that Miles Davis stuff, the,
yeah,
Return to Forever. I
yeah,
mean, and you're talking about, if you're a Rush fan, that's not that big of a jump to a band like Weather Report
yeah.
because, you're talking about
You listen to
just
something like
absolutely insane.
YYZ, and
Yeah,
that's total Weather Report all over that song, man.
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
got like two a Return to Forevers as well this weekend.
Oh,
So
they're good. They're
Cool.
really good.
Yeah,
oh yeah. I've already got one of theirs all already, and I was reading that when Miles Davis had jumped into this, well, not jumped into this, but led the movement this way, that a lot of jazz purists did not like that. They wanted to keep it jazz,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
that Miles Davis was taking it more of not even a rock sound, just just pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And from there, I was talking to friends like our great friend Eddie Canstrassi, and also Joseph Staub, and Jimmy James too earlier this week. How all those players from from Miles Davis expanded to different bands.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Big explosion
He,
happened from
he launched a lot of careers, man.
the 70s.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they all created their own bands, and they're all interchangeable. They all
Mhm.
played on each other's albums and toured with each other, just like the English hard rock players. The same thing happened with these players.
That's
So
what happens when a scene is like, there's a scene going on,
yeah,
and there's people from a scene interchange with each other and they interact and, you know, so yeah. So you picked
oh
what would you
yeah,
rather be or a wasp, right?
yeah.
I'm going with the same one actually. Yeah, dude, fuck, dude, that was like it's got this funky like but then it kind of sounds a little Thin Lizzy-ish in there a little bit, and then it's got all these elements, man. But definitely like the funky aspect, man. I was like, wow, man. I was like really drawn to it. I thought it was a great track. So that's the one I'm picking out of this three songs. So Wish You Well was a
And
great cover, man. And then
yeah,
the solo on Devil in Her Heart, man. A Gary solo, holy shit.
that's unbelievable.
Unbelievable, man. But
Yeah.
yeah, ultimately I'm gonna go what would we rather be or a wasp. So which brings us to track 4, Fanatical Fascists, Gonna Break My Heart Again, and Empty Rooms. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Man, this is a tough choice. And it's funny because you go from on Back to the Streets, you go from What Would You Rather Be or a Wasp into Fanatical Fascist, which is
Total punk. It's like a
yeah,
punk.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
good track.
A total 180, which is a great song. Gonna Break My Heart Again is another just solid ballad, emotional. But man, I gotta go Empty Rooms.
Oh
That is
yeah.
such a beautiful song.
Yeah.
And I was at work today and just kind of working on some files and just playing different YouTube videos and stuff, and came across some live stuff of Gary doing Empty Rooms. There's like some 11-minute versions
Oh
of
yeah.
that song
Stretches it
where
out, man.
he just solos for minutes, and
Yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah.
Andy, if you've never pulled up any live video of Gary, you got to
Oh
watch
god.
him play because
Oh
he
yeah, this is
pours.
Michael Lynch and Raymond are talking about over here about a show from 1978 with that's on YouTube, that he's with Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, that I think that's
Yeah,
been released too. It's been
yeah.
released.
'Cause I think it's at Sydney,
Yeah,
in
Sydney.
Sydney.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were saying that it was on Australia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a great show,
yeah,
man.
that is.
So
Yeah, but I highly recommend just going and checking some of his live stuff out.
yeah.
Whether it's his blues stuff, because you watch him, he's physically putting everything into his guitar playing.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's something to behold. It's amazing. And
That's
in
why I wish I would
Empty
have seen him
Rooms,
live, man.
yeah, me too. Me,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a huge regret. Um, but yeah, for me, it's Empty Rooms. It's just such a beautiful song.
Yeah. All right, Andy.
And when I was looking him up, he died pretty young. He was only in his late 50s,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like 57 or
I mean, shit,
58.
he died already over 10 years ago, I believe.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
I
still
remember
young.
hearing when he died, man. That was a sad day for me too, man. I was like, damn,
It was a shock.
it was a shock, dude. It was because he was starting to venture back into some hard rock again
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, man, he's gonna, you know, that again, not that I didn't like the blue stuff I did, but Gary, when he rips it up, man, I love hearing that stuff. So,
Mhm.
you know, what do you got, Andy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Victims of Future as well. I'm gonna go with Empty Rooms. I really like that track, and it was so hard because I almost went with "Gonna Break My Heart Again." I also almost went with "Fanatical Fascist."
Yeah.
I mean, these three songs were really tough to choose from, and I did not quite place the punk rock "Fanatical Fascist," but I knew it was something different. It was something that didn't sound like anything else on that album. And now that y'all had mentioned punk rock, yeah, yeah, I can see it now.
Oh yeah. Because
It's
at that time, man, punk was, yeah, punk was definitely influencing a lot of the hard rockers, man.
yeah,
Like, you had Judas Priest like injecting that energy into their music and all that
Mhm.
stuff, dude.
yeah,
Like, and even like, I know even like punk guys, like they respected Phil Lynott a lot. Like Thin Lizzy was respected by that community,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that, I know you picked Empty Rooms. I'm gonna expand on that with
sure,
my pick. My pick's gonna be Empty Rooms as well. I mean, the solo is so emotional on that. Like it's like you hear him crying. That
Yeah.
solo, dude. It's so incredible. I mean, Gary, man, he can just rip it up with a flurry of notes, and or he can make you cry with like just two notes,
Yeah.
man. Like, dude, it's just the versatility. Look at the three tracks here. The Fanatical Fascist. He can do like a punkish type of song.
yeah,
Fall in Love with You is like that. Again, it's that bluesy ballad that could have fit on Still Got the Blues or like After Hours. Those blues albums they did in the 90s could totally fit on those albums. And he was doing it here in 1982. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But that I'm sorry, gonna break my I went to the
Hard
next
again.
one. Gonna Break My Heart Again, ripping solo on that too, man. I mean, incredible. But again, empty rooms, man. Emotional. The emotion on that is incredible. So that's my pick. So that's a clean sweep on that one.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
so now we're gonna go to the next one, which is number 5, Spanish Guitar. Falling in Love with You. What I was just talking about was a bluesy ballad. I kind of skipped ahead. And then All I Want. So go ahead, Jimmy.
All right. So I mentioned before, it's hard for me to turn away a Phil Lynott
Yeah.
song. I can do it once, but I can't do it twice. So I gotta go with Spanish Guitar. It's so stunning, and um, I love the vibe of it. And again, here's Gary, who just did a fusion song, a punk song,
Yeah.
a blues song, now doing something that's kind of flamenco-ish, and
Yeah.
in
I know
vibe, or
what versatility he had.
oh gosh. And again, it's all Gary.
Yeah.
It all sounds like him. It's not him trying to sound like anybody else. He can do different styles, and
Yeah.
you can hear it and say, "Oh
But
yeah,
his
that's
DNA
Gary."
is all over it, man. It's
Yeah,
him. So
yeah. So yeah,
incredible.
it's I'm going Spanish Guitar.
All right, cool. How about you, Andy?
Yeah, I am going to go a different route. Spanish guitar was okay, but you know, I have not picked a ballad from him yet. It's going to have to be "Falling in Love with You."
It's a good
It's
track.
I was thinking about it. Even though it's a ballad, we've heard ballads forever. There's been ballads done even before Gary Moore, of course, but it just seemed like it was a little bit ahead of its time.
Mhm.
Still, if you know what I mean, if you think about it, um, it could have been if it was like Journey. I never clicked, but you're right. Now, if it was a Journey track, shit, that would have been everywhere. That would have
Yeah,
been still played live and people requesting it and played at weddings and stuff like that. But since it was Gary Moore, which makes it even a lot better for us rockers
Oh
who
yeah.
who love this, who kind of, now that I feel like I'm entering into this little corner where I got this great music of Gary Moore. So I am going to go with "Falling in Love with You."
I'm gonna agree with my co-host, man. I'm going with that same song, man. That's the one I picked. Again, like I love that bluesy ballad
yeah,
that he does so well. And again, he was doing this before like his blues period, but he always had traces of it going back to the beginning of his career. You know what I mean? So I love it, man. I mean, All I Want's a killer riff on that, man. I love
Mhm.
that song. That song was great as well. And Spanish Guitar, incredible. Again, Gary shifting gears and showing his versatility. But ultimately, I'm going to go with Falling in Love with you. So that's gonna be my pick.
Nice.
And just to say again, man, no pick on this panel is wrong. I mean, everything is so great on these 3 albums, man. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't really
Tomorrow my list could look completely different.
Yeah, it could look completely different, man. And going back into the comments, man. Yeah, Raymond said he photographed Thin Lizzy in 1980. Right on, man. That's
Whoa.
awesome, dude.
I think Raymond was on our.
And I think he mentioned that another time
and,
that he photographed. Oh, he photographed. I think Leonard Skinner too.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh wow.
Or he saw them, or he saw them in the 70s, I believe.
Yeah, he also photographed like Linda Ronstadt, Ben Midler, a
Yeah.
lot of 70s big time stars. I remember he had mentioned that a while back.
Yeah.
Thanks for returning, Raymond.
Yeah, thank you, man. And Michael Lynch, you know.
Yeah, Michael.
All right, track 6. Don't Believe a Word, End of the World, and Shapes of Things. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Nice. If I'm gonna listen to Don't Believe a Word, I'm probably gonna tend to go towards the original.
The Thin Lizzy.
Yeah. This is a great version. It's very, very moody. But
slow version of it. Yeah.
yeah, but I've always loved the guitar riff on the original.
Yeah.
And Robbo does a great solo on the original as well. And
Absolutely.
obviously Gary does a great one here.
Yeah.
But Shapes of Things is one of my favorite covers ever. It's one of the first things I ever heard Gary do. But man, I gotta go with End of the World. That guitar. I mean, you're starting off with Gary just ripping.
Yeah.
And
Jesus,
you got Jack Bruce on here.
Yeah.
Singing, which
That's
is awesome. Also, if you haven't checked it out, there's an album called BBM,
Yes.
which is Ginger Baker, Jack Bruce, and Gary Moore, and it's cream. It's a cream
Andy,
album.
You didn't know that?
No, it's a Cream album with Gary on it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and he channels his inner Clapton. I mean, you can hear it. Very first.
This came out. This came out in the '90s when Gary was into his blues period.
Yeah,
but he fit right in with that, man.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, BBM.
Just look up BBM.
Bruce Baker Moore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Write that down, buddy.
Put it on your playlist now.
Right.
Because I know Andy's a big Cream fan. He loves.
You'll love it.
Yeah.
It is so good.
Ginger Baker solo albums here with me when he was playing with Air Force.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you'll love this record. It's really good. But yeah, End of the World. One of the coolest things. One of the coolest things about that solo is it sounds like the end of the world when Gary starts his solo.
Yeah.
You hear like the dive bombing of the bombs.
Yeah.
And he does the little air raid sirens on the guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, and then he just goes in and melts your face.
Yeah.
But man, that's such a cool song. So that's End of the World's my pick.
All right, cool, man. Andy, go ahead, brother.
BBM. That's like telling me that Peter Griffin from Family Guy did a guest spot in Tom and Jerry.
You will love this record.
I am going to agree. I am going to go with End of the World. When I was going through the songs and I saw Jack Bruce's name on there, of course I went straight to it.
Yeah.
And I just thought that Don't Believe a Word, even though the great Phil Lynott sings on it, it was a little slower pace compared to what I'm used to hearing. So I went with End of the World by Jack Bruce. And I do like Shape of Things. I've got it up here with Jeff Beck.
The Yardbirds song, yeah.
And if we've been talking about this all weekend long, the Jimmy Page Black Crowes album that just came out, the expanded version, they also do Shape of Things on there as well.
Nice.
So just a little side note there. But I did go with End of the World. I mean, come on. How can you not?
I'm making it a clean sweep. I'm also End of the World. Yeah, dude. The guitar solo on that. I mean, fucking Gary, dude. I mean, holy shit. It's just the guy's fire, man.
Yeah.
You know, just the fire in his playing. Like, again, check out like live footage of him, man. Like Jimmy was saying, guy pours his fucking heart and soul into everything, man.
Yeah.
You know, he's just guy's incredible. Again, I think I hate to say this, man, but like I really think what held Gary back was probably his looks. You know, he
Mhm.
wasn't like a pinup guy. You know what I mean? He wasn't like this really good looking. You know, he's kind of rough looking a little bit, man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah.
I mean, his talent could outshine all that anyway, man. I
Yeah.
mean, in a perfect world, you know, people, you know, majority of people shouldn't be so shallow and kind of look behind the looks and look at the talent. You know, I mean, Gary Moore would be at the fucking top of the mountain, man. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, but you
He's in
know, I
my
mean,
top 3. He's in my
dude,
top 3 all time. He's
unbelievable, man. You
yeah.
know, I mean, the guy is just fucking unbelievable. I mean, and I want to like, you know, I don't have, admittedly, I don't have all of Gary's output, man. But I mean, I'm slowly as I see things that I don't have, I'm grabbing them, man, because you know
Some of
he's
it's
just.
hard to get.
I know some of it's really hard to get. It is, man. You know, to this day,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I have to stream stuff if I want to hear a lot of his shit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, End of the World, man, incredible song, man. So
Yeah.
that's a clean sweep on that one. So we'll go to track 7, Flight of the Snow Moose, Rockin' Every Night, Murder in the Skies.
Nice. Just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying about, Gary kind of being on that Mount Rushmore. Gary Moore is the guitar player that other guitar players stop and
We're-
listen to.
Oh yeah,
It's like how everybody says that King's X is a musician's band.
yeah.
That all musicians are
Gary
like,
Moore's a guitar player, man.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. He's the one that your favorite guitar player is going to stop and
yeah.
listen to. So that's who he is.
I mean, in that
Um,
in the guitar community, man, you don't get much more respect than Gary Moore. I mean, he's
yeah,
respected tremendously, man. So
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, he's on
yeah.
par with all the greats. So, um, man, this is another. Gosh, this is a tough one. I changed at one point. I had all 3 of these as my pick. So
Oh,
Yeah.
you have another incredible jazz fusion song with "Fly to the Snow Moose."
yeah.
The riff on "Rockin' Every Night" is absolutely amazing. But I'm gonna go with another unaccompanied guitar solo with "Murder in the Skies" because that beginning solo might even be a better beginning solo than what's on "Into the World," and the solo on "Into the World" is phenomenal. So, and what a heavy riff, what a rocking song, and you know,
Oh, killer, bro.
I
Killer.
have to pick one, right?
Yeah, you gotta pick one,
I
man.
can't take all 3, but
Yeah, we
if
got
it's
at least
if
a
I got to
couple
pick one,
rules here, Jim. There's not that many rules, but that's one of them. One.
got to go with "Murder in the Skies." Then,
All right, man.
Also, Raymond just put out there that some of his photos are on the Lou Graham and Frank Marino Instagram pages.
I gotta check him out, Raymond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. You know, Al talks a lot about Frank Marino's playing. So,
Yeah.
and
That's
Frank-
another one, bro.
Yeah.
Frank Marino.
Yeah,
he's right there with Gary.
Oh my God.
When brother Jimmy had introduced me to Back on the Streets, what was strong to me was the way that Back on the Streets ends. The last few tracks are just rockers, they jam. But I also liked Murder in the Skies. I thought Murder in the Skies was fantastic. But I stuck with the Flight of the Snow Moose. Not only is that just a great free form jazz fusion song,
Oh God, yeah.
better
Mhm.
be with that kind of title. I fell in love with the title, The Flight of the Snow Moose. That
Yeah.
better be some badass shit if you're going to name it that.
That almost sounds like the title of a Ted Nugent song or something. Like
Right?
Ted
No,
Nugent,
it does.
you know.
So I went with Flight of the Snow Moose.
All right, man. I'm going Murder in the Skies, man. I'm going with Jimmy, dude. Dude, when I heard that beginning guitar solo again, I'm like, this is why Gary is just the fucking man, bro. Holy
Seriously.
shit. I can only aspire to be like that good. You know what I mean? Like he as a matter of fact, when I was playing the song, it really made me want to go to the guitar and start fucking like jamming again. It made me want
Yeah.
to like pick it up, man. You know, and I haven't
It's
picked up I haven't picked up an electric guitar since I moved down here. Actually, they've all been packed away, and I'm getting them out of storage because I'm actually getting out of storage unit by the end of this month. I'm getting all my shit out of there.
Yeah.
Because I'm just paying stupid money just to have stuff stored, and I can't. I'm just hemorrhaging money into stuff that's like. I mean, I have room in my house now because my parents aren't here, so I'm kind of using their room as like kind of a storage room now. So, and I have to go through a lot of shit, and I got to sell stuff and get rid of stuff. They say if you don't use it within like a year, you really don't need it. Not music though, but
Music and guitars don't qualify for
no,
that
the
statement.
guitars and albums and stuff like that you keep forever.
Yeah.
Lawnmowers, shit like that. You don't need that shit, bro. Get rid of it.
That'll take care of itself.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm joking here, but goddamn, man, Murder in the Skies, man. It just made me want to go dig out my electric guitars and fire up an amp, bro, and just go nuts. So that's gonna be my pick. But yeah, man, that Flight of the Snow Moose was such a great jazz fusion-y. It's awesome, man. But I can't pick it over that Murder in the Skies, man. The Gary, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah.
But we're pitting Gary against Gary here. So again, there's no wrong
right?
answers here.
So Michael Lynch just put the BBM vinyl expanded edition still in print, and
Oh.
I'm the only one in the world that's never heard of this BBM. I'm like, I just looked them up.
Dude, as long as you write it down, and after the show, man, go on YouTube and fucking sample it.
Oh
Yeah.
no! I've already found it on my Apple Music. The album is
Apple Music. Yeah, I don't subscribe to really any of those things. I just, if I want to sample something, it's usually always on YouTube, so I just go on there and sample stuff. So
yeah, but Around the Next Dream is the name of the album.
Raymond said the deer eat his lawn. Hell yeah, dude! You don't need no fucking lawnmower.
That's right. Not when you get guitars.
All right, so we're going to track 8. Hurricane, Cold Hearted, Hold On to Love. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I got to pick a jazz fusion. I love jazz fusion too. So Hurricane for me. That to me that song just smokes.
Yeah.
And yeah, and again I could have easily picked all of the jazz fusion songs because they're all phenomenal. So I had to represent, and so I chose Hurricane to be my jazz fusion representative for this particular activity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome, man. Andy.
Hurricane. I mean, I'm just so much into that stuff right now. I don't even know where. I think it was during the pandemic. I just started listening to it just out of the whim and started to look up everything I can. And yeah, I mean, Hurricane to me on that one.
I'm going to make it a clean sweep, man. It's going to be Hurricane for me as well, dude. Dude, fucking the great Simon Phillips just tears it up on that track, man. And Simon Phillips was in that, I mean, this is 1978, and just a year before he played on Sin After Sin, Judas Priest. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he was just like, he was still a teenager, I believe, when he played on this song. So he's probably like 18, 19 years old. You know what I mean? And the guy, it reminds me of, the song actually reminds me of like the Billy Cobham, like Quadrant 4, from the Gray Spectrum album. And I mean, I always talk about that Billy Cobham album. I love that album.
That's great. That's a great album.
Yeah. And that, when you listen to Quadrant 4, you kind of hear like where Van Halen did with Hot for Teacher, things like that, that double bass shuffle, and it's
right
incredible,
there.
Man.
This is right there.
Oh God, man, Hurricane is great, man. So I gotta go with that. I mean, I love Cold Hearted. It's like this heavy, slow blues, which is really good, and Hold On to Love. I mean, they're all great tracks, man. But goddamn, Hurricane, man. It's a hurricane of a song, man. So all right.
It's a force of power.
Marty Luz says Cold Hearted for
all right, we got another person in the chat, man. Cool.
Marty.
Cold Hearted, man. Like I said, Cold Hearted, man. Great for me. I love that song too, man. But for me, it doesn't beat Hurricane for me though. But great song nonetheless. So, all right, man. So we're going to shit, man. We're on the last track.
Right.
Wow.
Track number 9, man. Parisian Walkways. I can't wait until tomorrow. Law of the Jungle. Jimmy, take it away.
I got to go Parisian. Like I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, we're again. You got Phil and
Phil.
Gary, and
Magic.
tugs on my heartstrings every time. It just Phil's voice. Phil means the world. Yeah, Thin Lizzy means the world to me. They're one of my favorite bands, and um, gosh, it just paints a picture. You know, the whole song lyrically, musically, it's such a beautiful work of art, and so I have to choose it.
All right.
Hey, man. It's awesome, dude. Andy, go ahead, brother.
I am going to go with what to me was the best album closer out of these three. And I'm going to go with I Can't Wait Until Tomorrow. That slow burning closer, dude. It is so good. Yeah, exactly. I can't wait until tomorrow. You got it. That's what I went with. When it
Mhm.
started off slow and I saw how long the song is, I told myself, yeah, this is going to be it. This is going to be that slow burner. This is going to be that bluesy. That's going to wrap everything up at the end. So that's what I went with.
All right, man. So out of the 3 tracks, I'll just say, before I do my pick, Law of the Jungle. When I was listening to that track, it's almost like Gary is kind of like he almost kind of sounds Ozzy-ish on that song. If you listen to the vocals, it's got like an Ozzy quality to it, and it
Yeah.
almost made you think like And I always heard a story that he was actually considered to be Ozzy's guitarist at one point, but again, it goes back to looks. I think Ozzy didn't like the way he looked,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that was a poor decision on Ozzy's choice,
Mhm.
because if he would have fucking joined Ozzy, dude, that would have been. I couldn't imagine like how it would have been, man. Like it would have been great. I mean, you could have did at least a great studio album with him. I know it would have been
Yeah.
awesome, But I know he was friends with Ozzy, so yeah. I mean, he had Ozzy on his album, again after the War album with Lead Clones, things like that. So you did get to hear Ozzy and Gary on a song together at least. So that was kind of cool. Can't Wait Till Tomorrow. Again, it's a great ballad, slow burning, like great vocals on that, man. I love his vocals on that song as well. But I'm going for Walkways, man. Just what like Jimmy said, man. Fucking, Phil on there, and Phil. To me, Phil and Gary are magic together, man.
Yeah.
So again, I wish like Gary Bean and Thin Lizzy could have just kind of expanded at least one more album. But again, this Back on the Streets album, you got 3 Thin Lizzy members in here, so it's almost like kind of a long, kind of lost Lizzy album a little bit here. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and this one came out before Black Rose, so I guess them working together on here kind of led to Black Rose. Gary going into Lizzy, and I think Gary did it. I think he was on one of the early Lizzy albums. He was on one song, a guitar solo on
Nightlife.
"Still in Love with You," I believe. Is that the
Yeah, it was
song?
on Nightlife. He was.
Yeah, Nightlife,
He.
which
Yeah.
is a beautiful solo as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, they go way back to the early '70s, like knowing each other. Oh, and Andy, if you like fusiony stuff, check out Coliseum 2. I think Gary Moore was in that, man.
Yes, I saw that he was. It's Coliseum 2.
Yeah.
There's this app on TV called QB, QUBI. That's with a treasure trove of live performances.
Yeah.
And they had Coliseum on there. And I was checking it out. And, oh my god! But I didn't know that Gary Moore was on there. I don't know if I saw Coliseum 1 or 2.
I think it's Coliseum 2 he was on.
Okay,
I believe.
they're different.
I think Jimmy might know better than me on that one, but I'm
That's
not that
about as
well.
much sense.
I'm not that well versed with the Coliseum stuff, but I know he was in that, and it was
Yeah.
kind of a fusiony, jazzy kind of stuff too. I believe
Yeah, it was
so.
a fusiony.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something
Yeah.
else that I want to check out too. There's so
Yeah.
much. I was just telling Jimmy before we got on, I've got like almost 50 albums that I need to get to, and here I'm writing down more stuff that I got to listen
So
to.
much music, so little time, man. You know.
That's true.
Sometimes
Hey,
I'm
but
sometimes I'm kind of glad I have like a 45 to 50-minute ride to work because it gives
Oh,
me a chance to listen to like a complete album. Like I'll
yeah,
put an album on like before I leave to go to work, and by the time I get to work, the album is done. And that's how I kind of review my albums, man. Like, I can kind of like just sit there in the car and just kind of concentrate while I'm driving and hearing the album. So,
right.
most of my listening is done in the car. But I do love to sit at home and put on a nice vinyl album with a drink
oh,
and
absolutely.
just sit back, turn the lights low and just immerse yourself into the music. So,
So
but
good.
yeah, Parisian Walkway. So that's two, and then you picked I Can't Wait Till
Yeah, for
tomorrow.
quarters of
So,
power.
what's the
Hey, before
tally, man?
oh,
Okay, okay.
what we
I've been
got?
taking the tally. I've been taking the tally. I got everything here. So let me count them. Y'all go. Y'all talk about amongst yourselves.
So
So I
I'm
was gonna say before I forget, there is if you've listened to the album "Run for Cover" by
yeah,
Gary Moore, there's a couple more tracks that he did with Phil
yeah.
on there, and Glenn Hughes did a couple tracks on there as well.
That's a
But this
great
was
album too.
right before Phil died. I think this came out in '85,
85,
and
yeah.
Phil passed away, I think, in '86.
86, yeah,
So
yeah.
so could have been some of the last things we got from Phil.
Yeah, Michael Lynch, thank you. Yeah, he was on Coliseum too. So that's yeah, that's what I thought. So thank you, Michael. Um, well, going through the tracks, looking at my list here, which I have here, my notes. I actually, it's a tie with 3 albums for me. I picked 3 songs from each album.
Dude,
Actually,
it's a 3-3-3 all the way around.
wow, no shit.
All the way around. I picked 3 tracks off the third album. Let me see. And we picked each album got 3 circles. So there were 3 tracks
Nice.
on each album.
So
Um
if that doesn't speak to the quality of the
Uh,
music,
hey, listen, Gary has a 3-way tie with himself, dude. I'm not mad at that, man.
Jimmy picked 3 tracks off of each album. I picked I was a little different.
I think you picked a little more off of the. I think you picked a
Quarters
little
of
more off of the
Power.
Back in the Streets.
No, for me it was Quarters of Power. I picked more off of
That you
that.
picked the most from?
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay.
I
Okay.
picked 1, 2, 3, 4 tracks off that album.
Okay.
And I only picked 2 tracks off of um, Back Off the Streets.
Oh, okay. I thought you
Yeah.
picked more, man, for some reason.
No, I just picked them. What would you rather be, or a wasp? And you know what? Flight of the Moose and Hurricane. You know what? I did pick 3.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so I did 3, 3, and
So
3.
you had 3, 3, and 3 as well.
Yeah,
Holy shit!
and Al, guess what? 3, 3, and 3.
Look at that, man.
That is amazing. That just
yeah,
shows the power of Gary Moore,
How
and
good his albums were, man.
and I mean, we've never had this before. Never.
I think this is awesome, man.
Three-way tie within himself, and not just the albums, but what we chose.
yeah,
Wow, that's
that's
weird.
cool.
Michael Lynch is asking everybody what their favorite Gary Moore album is. So, Jimmy, do you have a favorite?
If I had to pick it, I probably would lean Corridors of Power. Dirty Fingers is really good too. But Corridors is probably the one I go to the most.
I
And
don't know if Andy has a favorite yet because he's
I,
just
and
kind of
that's what I
new.
was going to say, Michael. I am so new to Gary Moore. I've only been hearing his music for about 2 months, so I do not have a favorite album yet.
Well, the Black Rose Lizzie album, but that's a Lizzie album, so it's not Gary Moore. So I got to throw that one out. But that is my favorite Lizzie album. Is the one with Gary Moore. But I mean, if I'm going to pick a Gary Moore album, I got to pick for where it started for me. I got to go After the War. There's just something about that album. It was the first one I heard in its entirety. I was a little late to the game with Gary Moore, but I got that album and I loved it, man. I still do to this day, man. I love his cover of Roy Buchanan on there, man. He does a great
Great.
yeah.
And someday the Messiah will come.
Yeah, someday the Messiah will come
Yeah.
again. Yeah, it's a great one, man. And
Yeah.
I love the silliness of Lead Clones. It's silly, I know, but it's fun. Ready for Love. It's cheesy, it's hair metally, but Gary Moore's guitar playing is still awesome on it. And then it kind of shows a little bit of the bluesy direction he was going to go in. You know, with the next album, which still got the blues, would be the next one. So that would really be his final real hard, out and out hard rock album. But I don't know. I still love that album. So, but damn, Quarters of Power is fucking great too, man. You know, it's tough, man. It's
I
tough.
can make an argument for Victims of the Future.
Victims of the Future, and even
Back to the
Back on the
Streets.
Streets, man, is great. You know, he doesn't have a bad. I don't think he has a bad album, man.
No,
You
the
know?
blues records are great, man.
The blues records are great too. I don't really visit the blues records all that much.
No,
You know, I visit more of his '80s output, but I mean, I still got the blues as a classic too. That's a great. It's that
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
After Hours is good. You know, shit. But yeah, I'm gonna go with After the War, man. Michael Lynch, man, he goes Quarters for him, but he loves it all.
Yeah.
Martella says Quarters of Power, which is cool. I mean, Quarters, man. So that might be one of his more loved albums, actually. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people pick that one usually.
Yeah.
I always hear Quarters of Power being name checked as like a favorite Gary Moore album. So
well,
but yeah.
it's like asking what my favorite Thin Lizzy album is.
yeah, dude, it's just impossible. Or my favorite Rush album.
yeah.
you
It's
know?
like one day it's
I mean,
fighting, one day
I always say Permanent Waves, but really, man, I love so many albums. I can't
it could be Farewell to Kings one
Yeah.
day. It could be Hemispheres another.
exactly, man.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm with you.
I mean, shit. I mean, I say Black Rose is my favorite Lizzy album, but some days it's Fighting, some days it's
Bad Reputation.
Bad Reputation. God damn it,
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. Yeah, Marty Lowe says Gary Moore, John Sison, and Michael Schenker always play note by note. So that's cool, man. So yeah, that's our Gary Moore. Hey, listen, Gary Moore 3-way tie. I'm not going to complain.
Wow, that's crazy how that came out.
So, that's awesome, Jimmy. Thank you so much for being on the show. Andy,
Thank you, guys.
what do we got going on next week, brother? We got that album Showdown, right?
Yeah. Thanks a lot for being on with us, Jimmy. I knew that you would add.
Oh yeah. Thank you, man. You kind of saved
Thank
the
you.
show, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I mean,
man. This
me
was
and
so
Andy-
much fun.
I mean, Andy and I would have been on it alone if we had to, but but it's
Dude,
great.
this was so much fun preparing for this. I had so much fun.
Yeah, fuck, dude. I love having you on, dude.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, I love being on it. I appreciate you guys a lot.
Next week we are doing March Music Madness. I'm going to make up a bracket of our favorite albums. We are going to have Joseph Staub with us and the guys for the BS Sessions, Mark and Jerry. They've already sent me their 15.
I gotta send you the 15. I know I'm late on this.
Send me his 15, and I'm going to write all those albums and put them in a hat. And I'm going to pull out whatever comes out. We're going to start off with 32 albums, and then we are going to condense it down to just one album. So we're going to have a good time next
That's gonna be a fun show.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's going to be fun. I've already got the poster board. I'm ready to write on it. So it's going to be a good time. So far, I am amazed of the 4 guys that I got. I'm waiting for Al, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have at least 5 different Black Sabbath albums. But is it going to be on the bracket? I don't know because I'm going to pull out all the albums randomly.
Yeah,
So
that's right. Yeah, you gotta pull out of the hat, old school style.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
All right, cool, man. So
I would just put my favorites. That's not cool.
so that's our show for tonight, man. Again, Jimmy, thank you so much for being
Thank
on,
you.
brother. You're the man.
Thank you.
Always great to talk about Thin Lizzy and Gary Moore. And I'm already thinking of St. Patty's Day next year. What's going to be? And I have kind of an idea already, but I'm not going to spoil it. It's a year from now. I don't want to rush the year. So time
Yeah.
flies by as it is. So I don't want to rush anything. So
Yeah, our good friend Mark Allen Taylor is already saying, "Why not you too yet?" You know the way he is.
I know. I mean, I do like you too, and I could do a 3-album battle by them. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
No,
So
no, I'm just saying, but these have been fun because it's introducing me to new music
yeah.
and really good, solid stuff. I want to say thank you so much to Raymond and to Marty Luz and to Michael Lynch. Thank you so much, guys. Y'all added so much to our conversation. It was like having y'all here with us. So thank you so much for
And
all of y'all's insights.
And I put out the invitation to any of you guys, man. If any of you guys ever want to be maybe on a show, man, reach out to me and Andy. If you guys, are interested in being on, I mean, we always like to have new blood on the show.
Yes, but it's not a paying gig. Just to let y'all know.
What? Wait, what?
Jimmy, wait a minute. What?
Jimmy, the invoice is in your is going to be emailed to you. So
sweet. It'll be sent by fax, right?
Anyway, thank you guys for being on. Andy, love you, brother, and everybody out there, man. Thanks for being on with us, and we'll see you next week, man. Next, we'll be on next Tuesday. So
yeah, we'll be on next Tuesday. It's going to be a little late. It's going to be at 9:30 Eastern time. So we're not going to do a what's spinning. So,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut myself off there. Anyway,
be a late start.
All right, man. So see you guys next week. Cheers to everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.